My husband lied about going on a boys' trip but instead went on a honeymoon with his affair partner. So, I planned my revenge, exposed his infidelity, and served him divorce papers at his birthday party in front of everyone. I'm a 31-year-old woman, living a fairly regular life in a suburban house I bought before I ever met my husband. We've been married for about 3 years. He always talked about wanting something extraordinary in our marriage, grand vacations, lavish experiences. I tried my best to accommodate within reason. Though we're not rolling in cash, we got by fine. He worked in a small local business. I ran my own modest enterprise. For a while, it seemed we struck a balance of routine and occasional treats. But around 7 months ago, my husband started complaining of feeling stuck. He wanted excitement, dropping hints about new experiences, traveling, or just spicing things up. I asked if he wanted counseling, a bigger trip, anything. He shrugged, saying he might plan a boys' trip soon with old college mates. I encouraged it, thinking a short getaway might refresh him. He was thrilled, diving into planning. That's how the infamous boys' trip was born. He shared vague details. A beach destination, a fancy resort, a bunch of old friends from out of state. His eyes lit up whenever he scrolled on his phone for flights. I teased him, "Don't spend all our savings on cocktails by the ocean." He laughed, saying he'd keep it moderate. The only friction was, he insisted on taking his dream car for a pre-trip drive to meet someone about trip arrangements. That dream car, mind you, was in my name. I'd bought it for myself, but he claimed it as his prized ride. I allowed it because I rarely used that particular vehicle. He adored it, calling it his baby, washing it meticulously. I never minded. He was my husband, after all. Finally, the day of his boys' trip, departure arrived. He left early, wearing summery shorts, dragging along a suitcase, kissing me goodbye. "I love you," he said. "I'll text often." I felt a pang of emptiness, but also relief he'd get some fun. Hours passed, and I decided to shoot him a quick text. He responded politely but briefly, saying he was so busy with the guys, sending me a generic beach photo. Something about that pic fell off, like a stock image. I shrugged, trusting him. A few nights in. Hardly heard from him. My calls went to voicemail. He texted he was exhausted from partying or on a boat with poor signal. The friend he named from college never posted any mention of such a trip on social media. I checked discreetly. My doubts intensified. Meanwhile, I found weird invoices in our shared email, lavish resort bookings under his name, but the location wasn't the beach city he claimed. It was a romantic honeymoon-type place in another state. My heart raced. While I thought about his location, I delved deeper, scanning his credit card statements. They referenced a high-end resort known for couples retreats. Then I discovered scrawled notes in his desk, references to honeymoon suite plus scribbles of a woman's name I didn't recognize. Honeymoon? He was already married to me. Anger flared, along with dread. Could he be off with another woman, playing honeymoon? The final confirmation arrived by accident. A co-worker of his who'd come to pick up some documents at my place let slip he'd requested extra time off specifically for a couple's package. The co-worker asked innocently, "So, you two were traveling together?" My blood froze. The co-worker realized from my expression that I had no idea. We parted awkwardly, me seething inside. I decided I needed definitive proof. I combed through his phone logs on our shared account, noticing a new number popped up frequently, especially late nights. Then I found a set of hidden photos he'd forgot to delete from the cloud backups. My heart hammered as I opened them. He was in a fancy suite with some woman in casual but intimate poses, an ice bucket of champagne nearby. They looked cozied up on a resort balcony, brandishing big smiles. The timestamps matched the day he'd left for his boys' trip. My shock mingled with fury. This was no innocent trip. He'd effectively gone on a honeymoon with his affair partner while I sat at home oblivious. Dazed, I contemplated my options. Part of me wanted to wait quietly until he got back, confront him, and see his reaction. Another part, the angrier side, longed to expose his duplicity publicly. The betrayal stung like a fresh wound. I'd been so supportive, even letting him drive my dream car. Now, as he gallivanted in honeymoon suites with his lover, he presumably expected me to remain clueless. He returned a few days later than originally stated, claiming flight delays. By then, I discovered so much. He waltzed in, sun-kissed, sporting a new expensive watch, presumably a souvenir. I forced a casual greeting while my mind churned with how to handle this. He rattled off an obviously rehearsed story. The guys and I had the best time, but oh, so exhausted. I played along, nodding. He eyed me curiously, likely sensing my aloofness. Over dinner, I dropped subtle hints about how weird it was that none of his old college mates posted about the trip. He fumbled, claiming they wanted privacy. Then I asked about the romantic couples resort. His eyes flared. "What do you mean?" I replied calmly, "I know you weren't at the beach city you said. I found the receipts for the honeymoon suite." His face drained of color. He stammered in denial, but I pressed, "Stop lying. I saw the pictures of you and that woman. You sure took advantage of a honeymoon that wasn't ours." He tried to protest, but I whipped out my phone, showing his own smiling photos with her. He froze, tears welling, then blurted, "It was a mistake. I just needed an escape. I never meant to hurt you." The standard cheater's script. I asked, "Who is she?" He said she was just a friend. Right. Then he claimed it was only physical, an impulsive fling. He insisted he still loved me. Disgusted, I told him to pack his essentials and leave my house. He wailed, "Wait, this is my home too." But technically, I'd bought the place before marriage, and it remained in my name. He threatened that I had no right to kick him out, that we needed to talk calmly. I responded that we'd talk through lawyers. Furious tears streamed down his cheeks. He demanded to keep driving the dream car. I laughed darkly. That car was in my name as well, insured under me. He had no right to it if I said no. He shrieked, calling me petty. I told him to get out. He stomped off, cursing me. I locked the door behind him. The next day, I wasted no time. I phoned a divorce solicitor, describing the affair, the honeymoon scam, and my financial interest in ensuring minimal damage. The solicitor was appalled but assured me we had strong grounds. We planned to file on grounds of adultery. Though it's a no-fault state, the proven infidelity might influence negotiations. The solicitor advised me to gather any further evidence, especially financial records showing his honeymoon spending. That night, I rummaged through receipts, credit card statements. He'd used our shared credit card for some charges, though the bigger portion might be on his personal card. Enough to prove the trip was real, plus the damning photos. Meanwhile, he bombarded me with calls, swinging between apologies and anger. He tried calling me heartless for refusing to let him stay in his house. I calmly repeated it was my house. He insisted he contributed to the mortgage in small ways. My parents were not relevant. I told him if he wanted to push that, we'd let a court decide. He then pivoted, crying about how he was confused, that the affair partner didn't matter. I told him I was done listening. He grew enraged, threatening me with long legal battles. I let him rant, then hung up. The next day, I changed the locks, blocked his phone, and let my solicitor handle any contact. He tried a new angle, telling mutual acquaintances I was throwing him out for going on a boys' trip. But once I shared the actual photos with close friends, word spread quickly that he'd run off with his affair partner to the honeymoon suite. Support swung heavily in my favor. People found his brazen deception repulsive. Some tried urging me to remain calm, but I had zero interest in salvaging a marriage built on lies. Soon, the solicitor prepared the divorce papers, citing irreconcilable differences plus his infidelity. I was ready to serve them. Meanwhile, I discovered the best part. That dream car he so adored was legally mine. He had only been the main driver, but the title and insurance were in my name. Realizing how much he prized that car, I decided to sell it. No reason to keep a constant reminder of him. My solicitor said we had every right to do so. Since it was my asset, I could liquidate it if I wished. Perfect. I listed it online, found an eager buyer, and got a decent sum for it, money I could put towards my legal fees. When he found out, he lost it. He sent me furious messages from a friend's phone, raging that I was destroying his dream. I told him, "That's what you get for lying and cheating. You can buy your own dream car with your affair partner's help." He kept insisting, "I have a right to that car." The solicitor confirmed he had no legal claim since I bought it before the marriage and never added his name. He ranted about how I was heartless, but I felt no sympathy. He tried to paint me as petty, but in my view, this was rightful payback. Then came the moment to serve the divorce papers. My solicitor arranged a process server, but I decided to do it in person for maximum effect. He'd ironically scheduled his birthday, a small gathering with some old friends. He posted an invite on social media, presumably still wanting to pretend life was normal. I asked the solicitor if I could serve him there. She shrugged, saying it's unusual but legal, as long as I followed state guidelines. So I thought, let's do it. The birthday event was at a local bistro's private room. He arrived wearing a new suit, likely the affair partner's gift, looking smug. The vibe reeked of forced celebration. Some mutual acquaintances were there, uncertain how to navigate our standoff. I walked in mid-event, manila envelope tucked under my arm. He spotted me, surprise flickering across his face. He tried to glare confidently, as if expecting I'd come begging for reconciliation. But I approached calmly, ignoring the tension-laden stares. He started, "Why are you here?" I responded, "I have a gift for you." His eyes narrowed. The group hushed. I handed him the envelope. He opened it, scanning the top page. Realizing it was divorce papers, his face went from shock to fury in a heartbeat. "You absolute jerk," he spat, trembling with anger. I told him in front of his friends that since he lied about the boys' trip, honeymooned with his affair partner, then tried to come back for half of my assets, I was giving him exactly what he deserved. Some guests gasped. He tore the first page, screaming about how I ruined his birthday. I retorted that he ruined my life first by cheating and lying. People parted, eyes wide at the meltdown. He demanded I leave. The bistro manager hovered, not sure if they should intervene. I calmly said, "My solicitor expects your response," and the timeline indicated. "Happy birthday." Then I turned on my heel, walking out with head high, ignoring his curses echoing behind me. That fleeting moment was petty, yes, but also gratifying. I let him taste public humiliation akin to what he forced me to endure. In the following days, father or mother not relevant, he pestered me with messages, calling me vile names. He threatened to fight for spousal support, saying he deserved half the house. My solicitor kept me calm. We had evidence of his adultery, plus the short duration of the marriage might weigh in my favor. Also, the house was purchased by me pre-marriage. He had minimal grounds to claim a big chunk. Eventually, we wound up in court for the divorce hearing. He tried weaving a sob story about how I was controlling, that he only found solace with his affair partner because I stifled him. My solicitor countered with evidence of the honeymoon suite bookings, the evidence of him lying about the trip, and the timing of his leaving me right after. The judge seemed unimpressed by his theatrics. He then claimed half the house's value because it was the marital home, but we showed the deed predating the marriage, plus no significant improvements had been made with his funds. The judge leaned in my favor. He pleaded for at least some spousal support, claiming he was jobless. My solicitor pointed out he left the marriage in bad faith, used deception, and he had no children to care for. The judge recognized the blatant infidelity and deception overshadowed any claim he might have for maintenance. The final ruling was thoroughly in my favor. No spousal support. The house remained mine, and any possessions that were solely mine or purchased before the marriage were off limits. He left the court red-faced, with minimal personal items. I discovered from mutual acquaintances that his affair partner wasn't so eager to share finances with him, so he ended up in a precarious place. Word spread among his circle about how he basically tried to run a honeymoon with his secret lover, then found himself with nothing post-divorce. Some criticized me for serving him papers at his birthday party, calling it savage. I shrugged. He'd orchestrated a betrayal that cost me money, time, and heartbreak. He lied about a boys' trip while actually going on a honeymoon with another woman. Serving him in front of his friends was payback for the public humiliation he inflicted on me. A measure of justice. Months passed. My father and mother remain out. I continued living in the house, which felt emptier but more peaceful. I sold the dream car, got rid of the bed we once shared, and redecorated to make it fully mine. He apparently tried to call once or twice, fishing for pity, claiming his affair partner wasn't as wonderful as he'd hoped. I let those calls go unanswered. My solicitor reminded me we have a final decree. We owe each other nothing. If he tries anything else, we can press legal boundaries. Occasionally, acquaintances ask if I regret the public confrontation or the savage approach. Maybe a small part of me wonders if I stooped to his level. But mostly, I feel no regret. He humiliated me by lying, going on a romantic getaway with his lover while I believed he was with his mates. He caused me emotional turmoil and left me with cancelled wedding plans. By flipping the script, I regained control. If he's out there cursing my name, that's his problem. He and his honeymoon partner can handle their own drama. Meanwhile, I stand vindicated, house intact, finances protected. In the end, I see it as a cautionary tale about letting illusions blind you. If someone's pushing for fancy getaways or acting suspicious with boys' trips, watch for red flags. My ex-husband tried to enjoy a honeymoon with his affair partner on my dime, then wanted half my assets. But the law recognized his wrongdoing, awarding me a swift, favorable divorce. Now he's left with nothing, presumably on rocky terms with his lover. That's cosmic retribution in my book. So yes, my husband lied about a boys' trip, and went on a honeymoon with his affair partner. I discovered everything, sold the dream car he adored, filed for divorce, and publicly exposed his infidelity. The final outcome? He left with almost nothing. I remain in my home, forging a fresh path untainted by his deceptions. That knowledge, plus the memory of handing him those divorce papers at his own birthday bash, is more satisfying than any heartbreak he caused. Let that be a lesson for those who toy with betrayal. The truth, once revealed, can bring about the ultimate downfall and a measure of sweet revenge for the wronged party.